It's time for my Game Week 5 team selection, and I'll also be giving you a look ahead at my transfer plans for Game Week 6 and 7. From my current squad to who I'm targeting, captaincy calls, and why I'm still backing Salah over Haaland, let's get into it. If you're curious how my team performed in Game Week 4, I'll have that video linked below so you can check that out. In goal, I've got David Raya, who faces Manchester City at home. Now, let's be realistic here. I'm not expecting a clean sheet from this one. City are just relentless going forward, and it's incredibly rare for them to blank, even against strong defenses. But where Raya could really come good this week is with save points. When you're facing City, you know your goalkeeper is going to be tested, and Raya is more than capable of making those big stops. So while I'm not expecting a clean sheet, I do think there's a path to 3 or 4 points here, which I'll happily take given the fixture. Moving into the defense, I've gone for a Crystal Palace double up with Matar and Guehi, who both line up against West Ham away. This is a fixture I really like for Palace. West Ham has been flat going forward this season, struggling to build any momentum or consistency in their attack. So I'm banking on at least one clean sheet from this pair. What makes this double up interesting is that both Matar and Guehi are capable of contributing on the attacking side too, especially from set pieces. If Palace can keep things tight and maybe nick a goal from a corner, there's a chance of some bonus points as well. Senesi rounds out the defense for me, and he goes up against Newcastle. On paper, that's a tough fixture, and I'm not really expecting a clean sheet here. But what I do like about Senesi is his steady defensive contribution points. He racks up clearances, blocks, interceptions, and tackles, which makes him a safe option even when the fixture isn't ideal. He feels like one of those defenders who can still get you 3 to 4 points even in a losing game, which is very valuable. Now into the midfield, where the big call is Salah, the captain's armband. Salah has been Liverpool's standout performer this season. He looks sharp, motivated, and is constantly involved in their attack. What really sold me on captaining him this week was his performance in the Champions League, where he delivered a goal and an assist. If he can bring that form into the Premier League against Everton this week, he could easily deliver double digits. With so many people leaning towards Haaland most weeks, I think Salah's captaincy could really be a strong play here. If you're enjoying this breakdown and you want to keep up with my FPL content, make sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe. It really helps support the channel, and you won't miss any of my future team selection videos, reviews, or differential picks. Next is Antoine Semenyo, who faced Newcastle. This is a tough fixture, and I'm not expecting fireworks, but Semenyo has been such a great value pick for me this season. He's been delivering in tough games already, and while it's unrealistic to expect him to return every single week, he's the kind of player who only needs one chance to make a difference. If he comes away with a goal or an assist here, I'll consider that a huge win. Enzo Fernandez is next in my midfield. He's got Manchester United away for Game Week 5. Honestly, I'm hoping for lots of goals here. United have been shaky defensively, and Chelsea usually turns up when they're playing big sides. Enzo is so central to Chelsea's play on set pieces and pulling the strings in the midfield that if Chelsea do score, there's a good chance he's involved. He might not be the most explosive pick, but he's always got that potential for an assist or a cheeky goal. And finally, there's Tijani Reinders, who's got Arsenal away for Game Week 5. This is one of the tougher calls for the game week. Arsenal's defense have been solid, and I don't see this being an easy game for City midfielders to rack up attacking returns. That's why I'm weighing up whether to bench him for a teamer. On one hand, I trust Reinders' quality. He can create something out of nothing. On the other hand, the fixture just feels like a low ceiling. For now, he's in the 11, but it's one of those decisions that I might change last minute. First up for the forwards is Viktor Gyökeres, who has Manchester City. Again, not an ideal fixture at all, and this is one of those weeks where my team just have a lot of players clashing against each other. With City's defense being so strong, I'm not expecting much, probably just a standard 2 points. But Gyökeres is a physical striker who could cause problems if he even gets half a chance. You never know, and that's the beauty with FPL. Next up is Hugo Ekitike. He's got Everton at home in Game Week 5. This is a fixture I really like for him. Everton's defense have been strong, but there are cracks, and Ekitike has shown he can deliver already this season. There's been talk about Isaac getting more minutes, and while that might become a worry long term, I don't think it affects him much this week. So I'm backing on him to get something, whether it's a goal or an assist. I really need some points from him here. Finally, João Pedro rounds out the attack. Chelsea didn't look great in their Champions League fixture this week against Bayern, but that was always going to be a tough test. In the Premier League, João Pedro has been a completely different story. He's been sharp, confident, and consistently delivering. I trust him to keep that form against Manchester United, who themselves haven't been solid defensively. He's one of those players I'm most confident about this week. On the bench, I've got Bizot, Julian Timber, Lucas Paqueta, and Axel Zanzebe. Starting with Bizot, he's firmly a bench option now. With Emi Martinez back in goal for Aston Villa, Bizot has lost his starting place. At this point, he's just sitting in my squad until I can move him on for a playing backup keeper. That transfer isn't a priority just yet, but it's something I need to address down the line. Next is Julian Timber, who I actually rate as the most realistic bench option to break into my starting 11. He's got City this week, which isn't a great fixture on paper, but he's looked sharp so far this season. If I were to bring him in, it would probably be for binders. The challenge there is that City are just so good going forward, and I do expect them to score at least 1 goal against Arsenal. So while Timber could pick up some defensive contribution points, I'm not sure he has the highest ceiling compared to leaving Renders in. It's one of those fine margins I'll probably decide on right before the deadline. Paqueta is also on the bench, and honestly I don't see much upside with him this week. West Ham face Crystal Palace, and I don't have much faith in West Ham right now. They've looked flat, and Palace are usually strong in shutting down midfield creativity. Even if West Ham do nick a goal, I don't really see Paqueta being the one to provide it, so he's comfortably a bench option. Finally, Zanzebe. He's not in the starting 11 for his club, which makes him completely unplayable in FPL terms. He's taken up a spot in my squad, and I'm already planning to move him on in the near future. Ideally, I'll use one of my future transfers to bring in a cheap but reliable starter to replace him, someone I can at least rotate in when the fixtures are kind. So overall, the bench doesn't offer me much flexibility this week. Timber is the only real consideration for a start, and that's only because of Reinder's tough fixture against Arsenal. But for now, I'm leaning towards sticking with my current lineup. It's not perfect, especially with players facing each other, but sometimes you just have to ride it out and trust your picks. Looking ahead to Game Week 6, the plan is to roll the transfer this week, so I have 2 free transfers available. The 2 players I'm targeting are Micky and Pape Sarr for their home fixture against Wolves. Both look like solid picks with decent upside, and I've already got 0.4 in the bank as a cushion in case their price rises before then. It just feels like the right time to jump in on those Tottenham players. The one big decision I keep circling back to is Haaland. Ideally, I'd love an easy route to bring him in without losing Salah, but right now that path just doesn't exist. So the plan is to go without Haaland for the short term. I'll reassess closer to Game Week 13 when City's fixtures turn again. Until then, I'm banking on Salah to match Haaland or even outscore him over the next few weeks. It's a risky move, but sometimes you've gotta back your gut in FPL. So for Game Week 6, the team should line up with Raya in goal against Newcastle. That's not the easiest fixture, but I'm still quietly optimistic about the clean sheet there. At the back, I'll have Van de Ven, Senesi, and Timber starting. My Palace defenders, Lacroix and Guehi, will be on the bench since they've got Liverpool, which is definitely not a fixture to target defensively. The midfield is where the points could really come from. Salah will be up against Crystal Palace, and I'll need him to deliver big, especially with Haaland highly captained elsewhere. Then there's Semenyo, who faced Leeds away. He's been such a bright spark in my squad, and I'm leaning towards giving him the armband for that game week. Enzo has Brighton at home, which feels like the kind of open game where he could be involved in goals. Renders will come in against Burnley at the Etihad. It's not a tough fixture, so I expect him to get at least a goal or an assist and tick along nicely with Haaland. And then there's Sarr against Wolves to round things out. He's been looking more and more like a value gem this season, so I'm glad to play him for Game Week 6. Up front, João Pedro has Brighton at home, which feels like a solid opportunity for points, and Gyökeres goes up against Newcastle. It's not the easiest matchup, but I trust him to keep ticking along. Ekitike will be on the bench for this game week. After seeing Isaac start for Liverpool in the Champions League, I'm getting a bit concerned about his minutes, so I'll be benching him for Game Week 6 as the safer call. Looking a little further ahead into Game Week 7, this is what the team should look like. I won't go in too deep just yet since things can change quickly, but the early plans is for a defensive setup with the possibility of Gyökeres wearing the captain's armband. Obviously, a lot can shift between now and then, with forms, injuries, and price rises, but that's how the structure is shaping up at this moment. So that's how the team lines up for Game Week 5, with a little preview of my transfer plans and strategy for the weeks ahead. I feel confident in the setup, but FPL is always unpredictable. Fixtures, rotations, and forms can swing things fast. That's what makes planning ahead so important. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's your plans for the next few game weeks? Are you holding on to Salah like me? Or are you making room for Haaland immediately? If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss my weekly team selections, reviews, wildcard, or free hit draws. Share this with a friend who's torn between Haaland and Salah too. It might give them a fresh perspective. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again after Game Week 5 with my review.